Hey ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to start Unit 1 Notes 2 today, and there's only one section of Notes 2, so we'll just be doing an A section today. So we're doing Unit 1 Notes 2A. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about solving inequalities. So the first thing we need to do is remember those 4 steps, and I do want you to write them down again so you have them on the copy of this notes as well in case you reference something on this notes. So part of it is already written down for you in your note sheet, so just go ahead and fill in those sentences, and this should just kind of remind you what you need to do. Remember, when you're solving equations, the first step you want to do is simplify each side of the equal side by distributing and combining like terms. Okay, then the next thing you want to do is gather the variables to one side of the equation, the equal sign. The next thing you want to do is use addition and subtraction to cancel the constant. And last but not least, you want to use multiplication or division to cancel the coefficient. Alright, so those are your 4 steps. You should be familiar with them by now. So I want you to go ahead, pause the video, make sure you have that all written down before you move on to the next step. Let's take a look at number 1. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to solve this equation. So it's a little bit more steps than we're used to. So first thing I'm going to do is distribute that in. So that's just step number 1, simplifying both sides. So I have negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And then we have this. Okay. Fix that and write that a little bit neater. So then, what I want to do first is I want to get my x's on the same side. So what I'm going to do is this is a positive 4x. So to start off with, I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. So in here I get a negative 10x plus a negative 10 is equal to 20. So next, I want to get that thing with the x all by itself. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of that constant. So this is a negative 10. So that means I need to add 10 to both sides. So in here I get negative 10x is equal to 20 plus 10, which is 30. Last but not least, I want to solve for that x. So it's multiplying. And so I want to make sure that I divide. Okay, so I'm going to divide by a negative 10. 30 divided by a negative 10 is going to give me a negative 3. Make sure you don't lose that negative sign as you're solving. So for here, x is equal to a negative 3. I want you guys to go ahead and try number 2 on your own. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by distributing in that negative 7 and also distributing in that 3, and that will help lead you through the problem. Okay, so let's take a look at what these inequality symbols mean. So I do want you to fill out this chart because it'll be a good reference point for you in later on. So for the first symbol, when you see that, you would say less than. Now, I usually refer to inequality symbols as an alligator's mouth. Okay, so the alligator's mouth is opening away from your x. That means you're going to say less than. Then here, over on this side, these words over here tell you what you might look for if we were going to be doing a word problem. So less than is the same as not as much as or fewer than. So if you see those words in a word problem, you know you need to use the less than symbol. Next, for the greater than symbol, okay, that means the alligator's mouth is opening towards our letter, so that means it's going to be more than. So those are the words you would look for. So I do want to make sure you put this down in the what does it say, and this down in the what does it mean. Taking a look at the next one. Now, if it has a line underneath, that line underneath implies or equal to. So less than or equal to here, okay? So that's going to, when you're doing a word problem, you're going to be looking for at most or no more than. Okay, so make sure you're getting these all written down on your chart. Last but not least, greater than or equal to. So that's when the alligator's mouth is opening towards the x and we have a line underneath. We'll say greater than or equal to. And that means no less than or also at least. So each of those, if you see them in a word problem, you know you're working with the greater than symbol. So here's the most important thing when dealing with inequalities. You need to remember to reverse the inequality symbol when multiplying or dividing by a negative number. So you see that little sentence right under your chart? Make sure you fill that out. It's really, really, really important. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch the symbol. Okay? Next, let's take a look at number 3. So we're going to do the same thing that we normally do. Okay, we're going to go through our steps of solving an equation. So I'm going to start by distributing in that negative 4. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Negative 4 times negative 8. Okay, we're multiplying two negatives, so that's going to give me a positive 32 is greater than 52. So now I need to go about solving this for W. So the first thing I need to do is get that 32 over to the other side. Well, I see it's positive, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides. So then I get negative 20W is greater than 20. So now I need to go ahead and solve for W. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide by negative 20. Well, when that happens, I should have a little alarm bells going off in my head saying, hey, I'm dividing by a negative number. When you divide by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. So when I rewrite out this part, I'm going to write my sign facing the other way. So the W is going to stay on the side. My sign is going to flip directions. 20 divided by negative 20 is negative 1. So now I need to put this on my line. So I usually just pick a spot in the middle, and I'm going to call this negative 1. Now, because this is just a less than symbol, it's not less than or equal to, at negative 1, I'm going to put an open circle. And less than means you go left. So less means left. And then greater than, if you were to have a greater than symbol, you would go right. So because it's less than, we need to draw our arrow going this way. So our solution for W is anything going this way on the graph. Now you don't have to write that part that I just did. You just need to have this on your number line. Okay? Let's take a look at number 4 together. So for number 4, I'm going to get it started and then I'm going to have you graph it. So let's start by, we want to get that 13 over to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides. So then I get negative 4x is going to be equal to, that's going to be equal to 14. So my next step now is I need to divide to get rid of that negative 4. So divide by negative 4. And this shouldn't be equals, this should actually be less than or equal to. Don't change your symbol. That's a student mistake a lot of students make. Okay? So next step now, we have x, but I divided by a negative 4. That means I need to flip my sign. And I have 14 over negative 4. Well, I noticed that this is an icky fraction. That's not going to come out to a whole number, but I want to keep it as a fraction. So I noticed that both of them are divisible by 2. So then I get negative 7 over 2. It doesn't matter if the top or the bottom is negative on the fraction as long as 1 is. So let's go ahead and plot this on the graph. So I'm going to write this as a negative 7 over 2. Okay, and now I use a solid line because of that or equal to factor. So I'm going to use a solid circle, not a line, sorry, solid circle. So I want you to determine right now if the arrow should go left or right. So go ahead and finish that up for me on number 4. All right. Next, let's take a look at number 5. So for number 5, we want to go ahead and we want to get our x's on the same side. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. That gives me 5x plus 5 is greater than 15. So now I'm going to continue solving this for x. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides to get that x by itself, and then 5x is greater than 10. Next, divide both sides by 5. And I get that x is greater than 10 divided by 5, which is 2. Now notice I didn't flip the sign. I didn't flip the sign because I didn't divide by a negative. So I'm going to have an open circle, and I'm going to call this 2, and my line is going to go to the right. It goes to the right because the alligator is opening towards the x, which means greater than. So then I know I need to go to the right. Let's take a look at this one. So we want to get that b by itself. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 5 from both sides. So we have b divided by a negative third is less than 5 minus, or 10 minus 5, which is just 5. So b divided by a negative 3. That's what that represents. b divided by a negative 3. Well, the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 3. Again, alarm bells going off in my head. I'm multiplying by a negative number. So I'm going to flip my sign. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this right here, 5 times a negative 3, and that's going to give me a negative 15 with that sign flipped. So I'm going to make my negative 15 right here, open circle because it's greater than, and again my arrow is going to go this way because it's greater than. Okay, taking a look at number 7, let's do this one, at least get it started for you, and then I'll have you graph it. So for this one, you're going to start by distributing. So then you get 3d minus 2 times a negative 8 is a negative 16D. Negative 2 times a negative 9. You multiply those negatives together and you get a positive 18. So keep going like this. Okay, now we need to combine our D's. 3D minus 16D is going to be 13D plus 18 is greater than negative 2D minus 4. So now over here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 2D to both sides. And then I'm going to get 11D plus 18 is greater than a negative 4. So now that I've gotten that far, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides. So I get 11D is greater than a negative 22. Divide both sides by 11. Now here's the trick. 11 itself is not negative. So here I'm not really dividing by a negative number. Yes, this number is negative, but the number I'm using to get the D by itself is not negative. So I actually don't have to flip my sign. So it's just D is greater than a negative 2. Go ahead and graph that for me. Remember that it's not greater than or equal to, so you need an open circle. I'm going to go ahead and have you try number 8 completely on your own. Start by distributing. Get your Z's on the same side, and then you should be good to go. Let's take a look at these last two word problems. Take a look at number 9. And the music chart charges $15 for admission and $2.50 for each ride. You go to the park with $60. Write and solve an inequality. Okay, let's figure this out. So if I have $60 in my pocket, no matter how much I spend, I can't spend more than $60 because that's all the money I have. Well, when I get there, when I get to the park, I have to pay $15 no matter what. Okay, I'm going to let X represent my number of rides. Okay, so for every X ride that I go on, I'm being charged $2.50. Okay, so now we can go ahead and we can solve this equation for X. So here I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides. And then I get 250X is less than or equal to 45. Now I'm going to continue solving this for X, and I'm going to divide both sides by 250. Okay? So when I do that, take 45 divided by 250, I get that X is less than or equal to 18 rides. So that means that I can go on up to 18 rides. I can go on 18, I can go on 17, but I can't go on 19. So that's how many rides I can go on at the amusement park. So look at number 10. You have $18.50 to spend on pizza. It costs $14 plus 75 cents for each additional topping, tax included. Write and solve an inequality. Find the maximum number of pizza toppings you can have. Okay, so we have $18.50 to spend on a pizza. We cannot spend more than that. Okay, so we have to pay $14 just for a straight cheese pizza, just a regular pizza. And then for every X topping that we have to buy, it's 75 cents. What I want you to do is go ahead and solve this for X. Know that X represents toppings, so the label on your word problem is going to be toppings. So go ahead and finish up this problem for me. Show me your completed note sheet when you're done, and I will go ahead and give you the next assignment. Thanks for listening.